What's shaking? It's Bacon, and we've gotten our first look at the Prison of Elders that's coming in the House of Wolves DLC. And I gotta say, this stream was probably the hardest to break down and decipher, just because it was just plain boring. I didn't find it entertaining in the least. It was hard to follow at certain points because it was just a lot of noise and all that jazz. And it was easy for me to tune it out. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times where I just was trying to watch, trying to focus, and then I was just like, ugh, and I moved to something else. I had to watch this thing twice in order for me to grasp everything. The first time I was recording something, my last video, and I came into the stream about 10 minutes late. And I was upset that I was 10 minutes late. So I ran into there and I was like, yeah, Prison of Elders. And I was seeing a bunch of stuff and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. But then it just turned to mush. I had to tune it out. I was like, whatever. And then I would close out of it and do something else. And then I would go back and it was just the same thing. Because if you notice, they failed a lot. They kept losing. And I'm going to get deeper into that in a sec. But I just got to say, this was not an entertaining stream in the least. In comparison to the other ones, this one was the worst. I have to say it. And Professor Broman, I don't know this guy. I've never really watched any of his content or whatever. So I can't really judge him as a person. But I gotta say, he did not really deliver in a good way. His performance was meh. It was kind of annoying. All I was hearing was screaming, yelling, screeching, and horrible questions. And I'll get deep into that as well later on. I don't want to be too much of a negative Nancy and just complain for half the video. So we're going to get into the information that we got to amass from this stream. Now, us players will be able to experience the Prison of Elders at multiple level difficulties. So the easiest and the first being level 28. That's the bare minimum. And that's just one level above our rock strikes currently. So it's not that bad. And on top of that, we have matchmaking with that mode, level 28. And that's pretty good for people who are new into Destiny or just getting the game, or maybe even people who just want to run it quick. Some people haven't even touched a raid yet just because forming a team isn't something that they're able to do easily. So just being able to hop in at level 28, it's nice. It's a nice touch, and it shows that Bungie is kind of trying to cater to all players, not just people who are avid and hardcore like myself. The next being level 32, which is very convenient for anyone who wants to just jump into the Prison of Elders immediately after getting the House of Wolves DLC, which I'll probably be doing because I want to be level 34 as soon as possible, especially for those Trials of Osiris. And this will give you an armor core and also house points towards Varric's ranking system. Then we have the new level cap, level 34, and this will give you Etheric Light and Weapon Core. So yeah, that's awesome. People who get to level cap are probably going to go for that. But then there's a step above it. Just like Crota's and Hard, we have that unreachable level, 35. And this is going to be for the hardcore players who can kind of dish out as much damage as they can, teamwork, analyzing the fight, and just doing what they got to do to triumph. And this, of course, will give you the most rewards, giving you both Weapon Core and an Armor Core, as well as Etheric Light and those house points we all want. And for all of the level difficulties that aren't 28, we're going to have to build our own fire team. So get 2 other people besides yourself and team up and try to take this thing down. I already have my lineup planned out and I'm ready to demolish. Now let's get into how the gameplay will actually play out. So you're going to be going into the Prison of Elders, but you're going to start in kind of a central hub area that is known as the airlock. And the airlock is where you're going to go after you complete each of your objectives. Now in the airlock, directing you is going to be Varric's, but he's not physically there. He's going to be speaking through a speaker thing that's kind of like a servitor. It's like flashy and everything. And it's what we first saw in our first reveal picture of the Prison of Elders. And actually, in contrast to a lot of our suspicions, the Prison of Elders isn't just holding the Fallen. It's actually holding all enemies of the Reef, which is pretty much all darkness entities. Like we have the Vex, the Cabal, the Fallen, and the Hive. So these are all Reef enemies, which is pretty interesting. And we get to see that they each have their own designated area or zones. So it's kind of like in prison, you'd have your gangs or whatever. People would match up with people that are kind of like them and similar. So it's kind of like that. Imagine it that way, but the other groups don't actually interact, which I think would have been pretty cool to have an area where it's just a mixture of all of them. And it's kind of like a free-for-all. Every side is facing each other and it just becomes mayhem. I thought that would be really cool. We have like a little guardian gang in the jail. Now, before you go into any designated field for any species that you're supposed to be fighting, you're gonna see that there are buffs. A buff is gonna come up and it's gonna affect you throughout that entire round. Now, these buffs are a mixture of what we've come accustomed to and a lot of new things, which are pretty interesting. Some of the new things that we've seen are primary buff. So primary weapons do more damage. And with that being what it is, I think it's safe to assume that there's also going to be the possibility for a buff for secondary weapons doing more damage. And maybe even heavy weapons doing more damage. And that might sound a little far-fetched, but come on now, there's crazier buffs to be talked about. Then we have Brawler, which is pretty much Guardian Light Switch. Our melee hits do more. And I think that is going to be crazy for Arcblade. Because when I play PvE, I use Arcblade. I don't know what Broman was doing with a gold gun in PvE. What? But the Arcblade, I think that is just going to tear things up. If that gets a buff on top of its already outstanding damage, whew, come on now. Then there's one that's pretty much Super Shield. And honestly, I don't even think this thing is a buff. I think it's kind of a hindrance. So essentially, you have a larger shield. You have more of a shield capacity, but your shield doesn't recharge. So once your shield is wiped out, you're pretty much a sitting duck. You have like a sliver of health, like a little tiny red bar left. And oh man, it's just hide and seek at that point. You have to be ducking away from the enemies. I would hate to see that in objective play. And that leads into the next topic. Now, in each run of the Prison of Elders, you're going to have 5 rounds, and each round is going to have 3 waves against whatever species you're going up against. And in each wave, there's a possibility for an objective-based variable to come up. 2 that I've seen in this are Capture the Splinter Mine, which is essentially control in PvE, which is pretty interesting. It's kind of like Vaults of Glass where you have to stand on the plates. Then we have Kill the VIP, and in the mode that they were playing, the VIP was level 35, which is wowzers. They're stronger than the other guys. Whoopee! So with that, I'm wondering how it's gonna be if I'm level 35 at that point. If we're playing on level 35 mode, are the enemies gonna be like a higher shield or something, crazier health? Because they better not be level 36. That's just stupid. There's even that big ass cannon that we saw before and people were saying, oh, it's probably a primary rocket launcher. Hell nah. That thing is called the Scorch Cannon and it holds 10 rounds. It's not infinite ammo and it has sticky bombs. So every shot will stick to an opponent. And this raised some questions for me. 1. How long until it despawns, or does it just stay there until I'm ready to use it? 2nd, is it useful? Because I mean, the sticky bombs, they latch onto one person, and if someone's like hugging them and right next to them, it'll affect them a little bit. Now, this little sticky bomb isn't affecting multiple people, so is it better than my Galgahorn? Because Galgahorn has clusters, it's going after everybody around it. This thing is just attacking one person. Why can't I just do that with a gun? And I think I'd probably be more interested in this if it actually had like some crazy scorch damage where it was just like a thorn hit and it just kept hitting and hitting and biting at the enemy. I think that would be pretty interesting. Not really that interested in this thing. I'll just let other people hold on to it. Now, with all the talk about objective play and coordinating with your team to get the objective and take out the guys, I was sitting there like, are you guys even doing that? Because during the stream, they were just scattered. They were just killing whatever, and just screaming about things. They weren't making any tactical plans. If anything, the most tacticality that they brought to the table was, all right, we're going to cover together in this little area and the enemies aren't going to come over here because they have like MMO mechanics where they stay in their little fenced off area. If we get close, they're going to be like, oh, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill you. But if you step back a little bit, they're just going to be like, oh, no, you're good. You're good. We're going to just try to take you out from a distance here. I mean, really. And when they lost, they would say, oh, it's not as easy as it looks. And I'm sure it's not. But it's already not a raid. So in a raid, you have 6 people. That's more than 3, obviously. So that's more people to coordinate and be in unison. And in a raid, you actually have to cooperate. You have to do your part. Because if someone's like slugging behind and not doing what they got to do, it makes it harder to accomplish your goals. In this, it's just killing. So it's not really giving you any incentive to cooperate with your teammates other than just killing with them. So the fact that they're not making any initiative to actually push themselves to work together and formulate a strategy, it's just making the load even worse. And I think they're underestimating the community, if anything, because the community, when it comes to raids, we think of some crazy tactics and they actually work, and they even have to patch around it because we're too smart for, I guess, the gameplay itself. And honestly, I think we're too smart for even this, because in Destiny, I constantly question what the hell we're doing, what we're fighting, what our cause is. And in this, it's just a joke. Like, what are we actually doing in the Prison of Elders? They're in prison. Is there like a hole somewhere that we should be patching up or something? I don't know what we could possibly be doing except like executing people. But if you want to execute people, why do you have to send in guardians? Why do you have to send in outsiders into your prison? Why don't we just go after people who escaped the prison like the Archon priest? I mean, that made sense. This, I kind of want to know what the hell we're doing in there. I hope there's some kind of deep explanation that I could not even imagine right now. Something I didn't imagine would come out of this stream was a new weapon type. Yeah, a secondary. And it's called a sidearm, which is essentially a pistol. But I thought we already had pistols in Destiny. Hand cannons. I guess it's a secondary hand cannon group. Whatever. So it acts pretty interesting in comparison to a hand cannon. It's not like a hand cannon. A hand cannon's kind of slower, big ass impact. This thing has like weird stats. So its rate of fire is maxed out. Its impact is low as hell. Its range is okay. Its stability is max and its reload is high. So I mean, wow. What? And this thing that we were shown had arc damage. So I was just sitting there like, whoa, where did this come from? Like, it was kind of grazed over like it was nothing. You had to wait like way deep into the stream to see it. And then there was like barely any information about it. The guy who was using it actually died really fast with it. And I was kind of sick. Because I mean, I liked Matt Simmons. Matt Salmons, my bad. And he was pretty entertaining as a guy. He was, I mean, not entertaining, he was pretty chill. And I like chill people, I guess. So this thing I think is going to be pretty cool to use. But I questioned how effective it is going to be used in PvP. because as you probably know, I am a big PvP guy. So with it, I'm questioning if the ammo changes will really make it just a waste of a secondary. Because we have shotguns, we have snipers, some people like fusion rifles, but I don't mess with that. And I'm pretty effective with both of those things. Now, will I want to put those into the back burner to use this? Will I be more effective with this? And honestly, I'm thinking no. I think that it's probably going to be just fun to use. And if anything, its impact just makes it not good. Not that good, I mean. So my tactic that I would probably use if I were to use this in PvP would be to have my primary as a hand cannon, of course, like I always do, and take people down, well, essentially take down their shields and then finish them off with the sidearm, because its impact is so low and it has such a small clip in comparison to, say, an auto rifle, which has low impact but fires really fast and has a larger magazine. It's just a waste to use to start off the fight. If you start a gunfight with this thing, you're probably gonna get clapped. And I don't want to see that, so use this as a secondary as it is meant to be used. Also, how damn exclusive is this thing? Because we didn't see anything called a sidearm in the tower. We didn't see anything called a sidearm in the reef. So do I have to like pick this up somewhere? Do I have to make this? Or maybe it's gonna be like, say, the weekly refresh of people's stocks. Maybe they might have a sidearm. I'd be interested in that, but I feel like there's a lot less sidearms in the world than anything else. And I think it'd be pretty hard for them to make it on the same, say, caliber as the other special weapons or weapons in general, because all the other weapons have been out and they've had multiple models over the course of the game's lifespan. With this, it's new, it's fresh, and we've only seen one of its kind. I hope we see more, but I'm not expecting a lot more. With that being said, they should make them pretty interesting. Set them up with some cool perks. I mean, give them some nice perks. And did you guys notice this thing having reroll? I didn't see it. I didn't remember seeing reroll. If it did, tell me in the comment section, because I'm interested in what kind of perk builds this thing could possibly have. And I'm hoping to see an exotic of it. I'm kind of just rambling about this thing because it's kind of the best news to come out of this. It's probably the most interesting thing to come out of this. And I like weapons and I like new things. So this is kind of up my alley. Now, when it came to the sidearms perks, we didn't get to see what they actually were. And this was pretty disappointing because when you reveal a new weapon, you kind of want to see what the first of its kind has to offer. And Professor Broman was inspecting this weapon. So for him not to acknowledge what the actual perks were for the community to see and hear about was discouraging. I mean, this guy, I don't mean to say anything bad about him because, once again, I don't really know him and I don't like to talk bad about people I don't know. But I have to say, Goth, when he was in stream 1, he was asking the needed questions. He was reflecting the community and what we wanted to hear. And he was even reading the stream's chat to kind of get everybody's voice into the stream and get the hard questions asked. When you're doing something like this, you have to kind of give more to the community than you are to yourself, because obviously the guy was having a good time and I like having a good time. I think that I would personally also be kind of really excited, like a little schoolgirl, seeing all these new mechanics and this new game mode that's fresh to me. But I would also kind of try to convey a kind of sense of professionalism in a way, not too uptight, like have your pants up high, but kind of just doing what you gotta do for the people, man. Because you reflect the entire community. You are pretty much an ambassador. You have to ask those hard questions and get our information thriving. This is like a scouting mission. You have to bring back info, bring back the food for Bacon to eat, bring back that food for Bacon to feed his people, man. I wanted info. I wanted knowledge I could bestow to you guys. And I wasn't really given that. I had to go scraping up for scraps. And you don't want to see Bacon doing that. You want to see Bacon giving you what you deserve. And I mean, for me to give you guys what you deserve, I need to be given what I deserve by person actually asking the needed questions. Overall, this stream wasn't that good. If anything, it should have had the same format as stream 2. Stream 2, we had 3 people playing the content and we had 2 commentators in a way. And the commentator seat would kind of shift to someone else. And that was good because we got to see the gameplay, but also break things down and get kind of more information to it. The first stream, there wasn't really any combat or anything like that, so we could just go willy-nilly and just talk. This, you're fighting. You're not going to be able to speak that well. I understand that. You're not going to be able to think about asking every question and stuff like that. But they could have oriented this better and have it someone else kind of dealing with. May sound like Debbie Downer with this one, but I gotta spit the facts for you guys. Because this stream was just they need to shape it up like a hairline. I mean, if you guys didn't enjoy that stream, I hope you enjoyed the video and me kind of collaborating all the information we had gotten from this, because I gotta say it was difficult. So this has been a very long video. I apologize, but if you stick through to it to the end, thank you. And I hope you'll like, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll catch you in the next one.